I was like a very lonely child that didn't have a lot of friends, and I spent a lot of time like wishing I was included in something. Livvy maybe had her own like way of being isolated, but I think of Livvy as just like always being content everywhere, and like she made the world that she needed around her, and like I felt very grateful at times in my childhood and in high school and college when other people included me in something. And so sometimes when I think about the thing that I'm a part of, that like what the company is, like I think about what like younger version of me would have liked to have existed and been like invited into. And I feel this like obligation is strong, but like a desire that like other people who feel lonely or disconnected can have this thing that I also wanted to have. And I feel there's something that feels like an oughtness to it. Like I want this thing to continue. I want the thing we have done to be like meaningful and to matter. And even if like the only thing that exists after we die, or like after the company closes down, which I hope it never does, but like even if the only thing that persists is that it's a memory, and someone else in the future can be like, oh, remember that time that like just a bunch of our friends made up a thing and it was real? Like we could do that again. Like when I think about scale or like growth, or like I think there's people who would see what we're doing and be like, we can scale this, we can start. And I'm like, no, you can copy this. Like in the same way that we copied PowerPoint Party and that we copied the Moth, like you can know that you can build something like this as well. Like if anything, I want to be like, here's our Notion database, here's our templates. This is like the run sheet for like how to run a PowerPoint Party. Like I want to give all of this stuff away and let people know like you can do this too. And like that to me would feel a little bit better than just we shut it down one day and like burn all the documents and like peace out.
Hey guys, welcome back to Something More Human, the show where we talk about human connection in the digital age. I'm Sam.
And I'm Elliot.
I'm Ivan.
And I'm Livvy.
Okay, guys, this is so long awaited because we have sung praises about the company on the show so much, and we are some of your number one fans.
This is also true.
As you know. And so, just for people who don't know super quickly what the company is, it's a member-supported community space in Denver. Elliot and I go, we love to go. There are things such as PowerPoint Party, there's storytelling events like Glint, which is very similar to the Moth, not a competition. And so we've found this community that we just really, really love. And you guys are some of the creators of this space and, of course, our sweet friends. So we're really excited to have you on.
Yay!
Yeah, same.
Okay, we talk about
excited.
human connection, obviously, on the show a lot. So we're going to kick us off with a story about how we met because it is so hilarious.
You want me to take that away as if I remember the way that we met specifically?
We're setting the scene. It's January 2025.
Yeah, we've talked about it a little bit on the show, but it is, I was looking in my journal for the first time that I reflected on the company. It was January, I think, 17th. So we met sometime in early January. That was at, do you remember the Gathering of the Gatherers?
Oh, absolutely.
I can't remember exactly what it was, but I think it was that there were 15, 20 people in a room and we were all being very open and honest and vulnerable, including you guys. And I was feeling super lonely at the time. I think I even said that at the Gathering of the Gatherers. We had been in Denver for like, what, a year?
Just over a year.
Maybe over a year. And I was like, dang, did we fuck up? Like, should we move back? And I'm like, not really having a good time. And stepping into the company definitely completely changed the trajectory of my time here in Denver. And there's so much I could say, but maybe you should take us even further back because I keep kind of forgetting about. I want to go through all the webs of connection, like Beth and Tim, and before that, and Ryan inviting us to the company, us saying yes to the company.
I will set
to go
the
into the
scene.
company. Yeah, go ahead.
So that was sort of like the emotional thing that you were dealing with at this time. I think we had been in Denver 18 months, like a year and a half. So at the time you were like, well, I should be feeling connected by now. Like it's been long enough that I should feel not this way.
Right.
And we had started going to this thing called Creative Mornings, which we've talked about on the show. It's all over the world. We go to Creative Mornings and someone is giving a pitch. So there are like 30-second pitches at the beginning. Beth gives this pitch about this thing called Cuppa. She's starting this coffee and tea pop-up, and she really wants like a physical space for it. We love coffee, and I just took a picture of Beth, and I said, oh, we should talk to her at the end of this because she seems like somebody that would be really fun to connect with. And it just so happens that at that Creative Mornings, we don't get the chance. Like we get stuck where we're sitting. We don't know anybody else at this Creative Mornings event. Remember that. Later, we're hosting an event. We're hosting a return to real life in Denver, and I'm checking people in, and this person checks in and says, I'm Beth. And I say, oh my God, you're Kappa. And she was like, I am. So I tell her the story about how I have a picture of you on my phone because I took your picture at Creative Mornings and I would love to connect with you. And now you're here. And she's like, oh, this is awesome. Following our Return to Real Life event, Beth is like, well, do you guys know Ryan? Ryan hosts this thing called Dynamic Dinners. You would love his events. Beth connects us. We get coffee with Ryan. We really connect. He's also an awesome connector. And he's like, I think that people who connect people can feel lonely because you're creating this space, but then you are on the outside because you're the curator. I want to gather people who gather people. Would you be interested in coming to this event called Gathering of the Gatherers? And we're like, yeah, we would love to go. We step into the company, which is where this event is being hosted, and we see this is where Kappa has found her physical pop-up space. And we're like, wait, we know Beth, we know Kappa. So we meet the two of you. We have a wonderful time. And it's much later that we discover at the Creative Mornings event that we meet Beth, or sort of meet Beth. You guys were also there and had seen us, but we just like didn't find a way to connect. For everyone listening, 3 episodes ago, this is also how we met Tim Jones, is through this Gathering of the Gatherers. So
Was
the
that
web
your
of connection.
first time meeting him?
That was our first time ever meeting Tim.
Wow.
And he was our last guest on the show.
Yes, and he's our most recent guest.
Yeah.
So like sometimes it can feel like a huge hurdle to like find a community, but sometimes it just takes like saying yes to a free event.
Yeah. Yeah.
And like look at all that's come out of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When we think about like in a perfect world, we kind of envision that there's the company in every single neighborhood, which is like realistically not possible. But the company didn't start as this full-blown brick and mortar like business that you guys pay rent to. It started in your living room.
Oh.
Right? So can you tell us about how did you start gathering people in this way where you're like, we want to have intentional time together. We want to be a part of a community. And like, we're the people that are spearheading this gathering.
Whoa.
Was it PowerPoint Party or was it another vehicle?
I mean, you can start from like way back. The idea of the company. I don't know. There's like a few different threads that wove together that became the company. But like the phrase, the company, you've had that as a vision for a long time. And then I joined,
Yeah.
later.
We used to be super Christian, super religious. There's a concept within some flavors of Christianity of there's this concept of intentional Christian community, which is this idea of like people very deliberately living life together and sort of committing to sort of a more communal way of doing life. Sometimes that means like people live in the same house or they just make sure to live in the same neighborhood. But I was exposed to this idea in high school and college, and I was like, this is awesome. This makes so much more sense to me. Took me a while to start to understand like, oh, I have really high social needs. Maybe lots of people would hate this. But there was a group of friends in college where we started talking about the idea of like maybe one day we live together, maybe one day we'd like do all this stuff that's like good for the world, but with the commitment to being in each other's lives for a very long time. And like things for us have shifted over the years in terms of how we relate to faith. But that idea of community and intentionality in community was always really appealing. So with those friends back in college, we had the idea that one day, like maybe 10 years later, we would move to the same city again and start something. And we had like the working name of the company because it would be like, come for the events, stay for the company, or like come for the blank, stay for the company. And like that had always been, I think like the end game for me. Like I wanted that to be the direction our life headed in something like that. The form that the company takes now is like, it is a place where people can gather. Like no one lives there. We're not currently pursuing anything like convincing everyone to like buy houses in the exact same neighborhood and like to be around the company. But that idea of there being a sort of consistent rhythm of getting together is like what has remained or like what has persisted through that time.
Yeah, we did have a few little explorations in the more residential direction. Like we lived in a housing co-op for 8 months in Boston. And I think that didn't like totally dissuade us from the residential idea, I think, but we just put it down.
Yeah.
Right. And then, moved into high-rise condo in the city. But I think that idea of like having a shared space, maybe separate from the stresses of sharing residential life together, like that felt that was persistent.
So it sort of sounds like this started with like small groups when it comes to gathering over religion and like biblical texts maybe. And then it morphed into, okay, here are the social needs that I have. They don't have to be completely tied with the specific purpose of like studying theology. I have different social needs. Did these things that are like your relationship with faith and your relationship with community, did those things like diverge and become independent at the same time?
I don't understand the question. One more time.
So I'm curious if like, are you in like small groups and are you in church often in this community and at the same time building PowerPoint parties in your living room because you have this social need? Or are you sort of having this internal debate about religion and therefore simultaneously losing out on this community and as a result building something new to fill that space?
Okay, I'm not sure if this directly answers, but I'm going to say what it's bringing up for me.
Great.
I think through around the time when we were intentionally stepping away from faith, we were thinking about all the things that we still value and love about faith.
Yeah.
We're not, thankfully, we never went through a bitter phase about faith, and I hope we never do. I think in that process, we're like, of course, one of the things that we loved was just the community aspect that religion like has provided throughout society and history, but also on the more personal level for us throughout our life. And so I think we were intentional about like, oh, how can we keep that, especially because everybody's lonely, as we know, and it was so hard to make friends as a grown up. And so we were intentional about trying to I think always to like be intentional with our friendships, hosting a lot. But in that process, do you remember there was some day that we remembered when we looked back at the communities that we had loved being a part of in faith? We realized those were all things that we started.
Yeah.
Nice.
So then that was interesting to be like, oh, this is maybe this like community making. Like that's a consistent thread of who we are through this whole thing. And of course we did it in the context of faith, and that's where we were. But we're going to keep doing it. And maybe it even feels more important outside of the context of faith.
Yeah.
I don't know.
You guys are not in faith in the same way at all.
Yeah.
But like you just said, there are elements that you're like, this works really well in the context of faith, and we can totally pull on this thread and implement it in a way that is not centered around worship.
Oh, yeah.
Can you talk more about like the ideas of structure and ritual and like rules for a gathering, like regiment?
This is maybe like a weird way into it, but the thing that a thing I've struggled with when it comes to making friends as a grown up is scheduling tennis. Like it takes months to spend time with people that you think like are good fits.
Dang.
And like that felt very strange to us when we were, I think, getting started with like making friends outside of like a religious context. Because at church, you just like see people every week.
Yeah, for
like
sure you were going to see these people that you love once a week.
Yeah, like there's just like a built-in consistency to it. And I think the like most of the things we've ever hosted have been like pretty structured.
Yeah.
We joke about hosting a regular party as like a theme, a themed party, because like we've never done just a regular party.
Okay,
It's always
dude.
a shtick.
There's
Any kind of dress up party, call me.
Yeah, okay. We will.
but yeah, we found that the like a lot of the ways that we have been able to grow and maintain close connections to people have been with regularity. If you're like, hey, every week we do this thing, every month we do this thing, you can at least have like some more expectation. It's easier to plan around. Like people can choose to commit to going to that kind of a thing, and then the rest of life happens around that versus the puzzle of like, wait, are you free on this weekend or that weekend? So it's I think there's like other ways that like structure and ritual can be really meaningful, but I think maybe highest level of rhythm just being like a regular occurrence at all, I think that was really significant to us.
You and I have talked about this a little bit, like in the backseat of the car. The idea of hosting something with regularity also means that you as the host have to commit to this thing on a weekly basis, which in theory sounds totally fine and cool. But committing to a thing, hosting people on a regular basis is a huge commitment. What was it like to overcome that commitment? And like, is it totally just selfish? And you were like, this is the one thing that I need.
Yeah, no, I think right now we have 2 weeknight commitments every week, right? Then we have lots of monthly commitments. Well,
2 nights a week we have a commitment for sure.
2 nights a week we have a commitment for sure. But like every single week, we have weekly Wednesday work night and Sabbath dinner. Okay, so that's Wednesday night and Friday night. Okay, but you're like, what was your question? How do we get...
When I think about hosting something like that, the idea of committing to something on a weekly basis deters me a lot. Like the idea of if I don't host it, it won't happen.
Yeah.
Is just like not something about that I have a really hard time just wrestling with. So how did you wrestle with it? And you were like, yeah, no, we want to do this.
No, I think we were just super lonely and there was nothing else happening. So like the Friday thing was the first thing. And that was like, we want to see people, but it's not like, oh no, we're worried because our life is like vibrant and full and we don't want to give up a slot that could be used for something else. It was like an empty slate. So like, let's put one repeating dot on it. And now our life is more full, but like those things have been present for so long that they're kind of like the constants or the anchors that everything else plans around. Yeah, that everything else falls around.
I feel like when I'm thinking about the difference between you and I is that, and you're like, why is that coming to mind? You're very structured and I'm very, even though I do have my Friday nights mostly free, I want them to be as free as possible for as long as possible. And I think I realized that gets in the way of my happiness. And if I could, it just seems like a choice. It's like, no, we're just choosing to be disciplined and to commit to this thing every Friday, unless, some extenuating emergency circumstance happens. It's just the thing that we're doing.
Yeah.
And that's always been like really, really hard for me to just say, I'm going to do this every single Friday, or I'm going to do this every single Wednesday. And I think if I were to, my life would be much fuller. But it just seems like more and more, including myself, but like people around me, like periphery, tertiary friends, even close friends, it's just harder to hang out. And maybe you're right. Maybe it's because we're getting older, but I also just feel like it's easier to bail. Like it seems like it's not easier, but it's like almost more socially accepted to bail, to not be consistent. And I feel like the company does a really good job at asking someone when they come back, oh, where have you been? Like, where were you? Or like, hey, you said you were going to be there. You didn't come. Like, why not? And it's not, I know it's out of a place of love, but it's also a genuine interest. Like, hey, I'm kind of calling you out. Like, where you at? And I think that's important. I think that's one of the like pillars of what makes the company so special is that you guys are doing the same thing all the time in the very best way. And I mean that in the best way. There's consistency, which a lot of people need.
Yeah. This bit about consistency, when sometimes I think people look at the company or things that we started a long time ago and they see something like healthy and I'm going to say full instead of big because I think like our events aren't huge, they're pretty small, but I think they feel full. They're like, wow, I would love that in their settings, maybe where they live. But and I really think anyone can start it. But like the key for us is to be content with like a tiny, tiny, tiny group. Like I basically don't ever host anything that I wouldn't be content to do with just me and Ivan and one other person. And then, and if you can find a thing that you like to do with only that small group of people, then you can consistently be like, okay, I'm going to do this every week, even if only one other person shows up because I'm excited about just that.
Right.
And then instead of being like, oh, well, 10 people didn't come to this, so I'm thinking about canceling the night before, like that, I don't know.
Yeah, interesting.
I feel like that's been really key to growing anything. I don't know. I don't really think growth should be the point.
I mean, it also sounds like you're saying that's how you be consistent with something. Is like if you're disappointed week over week, it's going to be really hard to show back up.
Yeah. Okay, that's a great way of putting it. Yeah. So find a thing like you're excited about doing every week, and then it won't be hard to do it every week.
Okay, I'm latching on to PowerPoint Party because I think that it's something that's easy for people to do.
Yes.
And one of the main reasons, besides the fact that we love you guys, to have you on the show is like, you don't have to go rent a building in an expensive neighborhood in your city and like start a company. You can start literally hosting people in your living room.
Yeah.
How did you come up with like some of these events? Like, where did you get the idea of PowerPoint Party? Did someone invite you? Did it just like spontaneously come out of your brain?
Dear friend from college, Kelsey Kernut. We were in Michigan, our hometown in Michigan, over the holidays where she lives, and she invited us to come to one. And we were like, this sounds amazing. This sounds exactly like things we loved doing in the past. And I don't know, there's like maybe 12 less of us there at our house. And we loved it. And we were also like, we think we could do this like not... Okay.
More organized.
It's very homespun. And there was like a rough, I don't know, I care too much about time. There was, I think, like a rough guideline of like having 5 minutes per presenter and loosely enforced. And we were like, we could enforce, enforce timing. So we thought that was a cool idea. We had like become friends with some of the neighbors in our building at that time. So when we came back to Denver after that, I think January was the first PowerPoint party we did, so like a month later, and it just we just completely copied the idea. Yeah.
Yes, we completely copied the idea, and we had just been to this friend did it, but then we did the first one, and people were like, oh yeah, like on TikTok.
Yeah, and
Like-
we're like, what's TikTok?
We're like, so like we learned later that like this is a thing on the internet. People have been doing it, so that's basically none of the things that we love doing now that we do regularly are original in any way.
I love that.
Yeah.
I think summary might be the one.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. Summary feels
semi-original
original.
thing.
Not to
Ivan's like, we got one.
We got one. We got one.
not to derail the conversation really quick. It does seem like maybe Livvy, but Ivan, we seem similar in that way that you want to do something, or maybe I'm wrong. You want to do something novel. Like when you present this idea to a group that's going to like ingest it, you want it to be novel at all costs. Is that not true? Like, are you guys like, even though the PowerPoint is not quote unquote original, there's so much power behind it because of, what it is and what you're giving people an opportunity to do. But does that ever cross your mind when you guys were thinking about the company or about Moth or the Glint is making something super wholly unique and original, or did that not really cross your mind?
I don't think so. I think there are, like in my creative work, I do feel like this sort of like intense need for originality. Like if something sounds like something else or feels like something else, or if it like is at all derivative, like in my personal work, I'm like, I'm bored. I don't want to do this. But I think the like the thing that's really cool to me about PowerPoint Party and Glint, which is a like clear ripoff of other things, is like the thing that makes them special is the people all take different approaches to their presentations or their stories or whatever it is. And I think the additional level to me that makes it feel sort of endlessly interesting is not just that people will always have interests and they'll always be able to present about interests, but that the company has become a place, we're very lucky that it's become a place that people come back to. So we like reserve 4 slots for new presenters, but the rest is like assume that it's going to be repeat presenters. And so, there's like, we just did PowerPoint Party 31 last weekend, and there's people who've presented like 15, 20 times. And like, it is so cool to me to see like, oh, this person is also interested in that. Or like with the storytelling events, like this person, like I know them personally. It feels very different to have like information or stories from people that I care about and know than complete strangers. And so to me, that's not, the event or the structure of the event isn't like unique or original, but I think that people keep coming back makes it something that feels very special, or like from my vantage point, as someone who's gone to almost every single thing. I think I've missed one PowerPoint party that we hosted. As someone who's been to like every single thing, like I have an experience that is original from seeing these people present. And that's the thing that someone who just drops in, they don't like know the context of this person. They may not pick up on all the subtleties or the callbacks. And so I don't know, it's kind of like this emergent organic thing that if I look back at it, I'm like, I have had a completely unique experience of these people, of these stories, of these presentations. And it's less that the event itself is special, but like there's longevity to it in that.
The repeatability.
Is distinct. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's interesting because when I like conceptualize a community like the company, I am thinking about people who at their most forefront identity consider themselves artists or creators or creatives, photographers, videographers, graphic designers, sculptors, painters. But when I step into the company, I meet so many engineers and like architects and like software developers. And so
nurses, doctors,
yeah. I think that you're like starting to give me the answer to my question already, Ivan, which is like, why is it not that all of the people who at their forefront identify themselves as creatives are the primary core of the company? Why are there so many different types of people who might, under several layers of identity, call themselves creative? Like, what is it about the company that inspires these people to invest their time in? And it kind of sounds like you're saying everybody has a passion. And so we're giving people this opportunity to dive into a facet of passion. And it doesn't have to be about their job. It doesn't have to be about this hobby that they did in college. It doesn't have to be anything. It's just something that you're really excited about.
I do really think like the medium of PowerPoint parties in general has that effect because it's a 7-minute presentation about anything.
Yeah.
And so that can be sometimes there are nights when PowerPoint parties do lean science heavy, maybe, because people think of that maybe as a field that you explain things in.
Sure.
Oh, sure,
You
yeah.
present information.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And like every now and then that happens because I think like that maybe that's people's first association. But I love the deeper you get. Like I love the nights, and I say this every time, when there's like a wide variety in both the topics and the styles of presentation. And I think that because I think people realize that the show is more fun when there's a wide diversity. I think people bring that, right? And then that is the kind of event that can hold such a variety of topics that it lets the company draw people, draw like a diversity of people, I suppose.
Yeah.
I think something that we have enjoyed about silly events we've hosted over the years is putting care into small things. Like it's too much of a tangent, but
no, this is great because we're definitely gonna get here. So go on.
We can double click on the term micromedia later, but just it's enough to say that like putting care into a small thing for a small group of people, like a particular audience, like a particular person, like that, like really lights us up. And when we were thinking of like, what is the company and like, how do we talk about the company and how do we like meet people? It has been primarily friends of friends of friends of friends of friends of friends. We ran one Instagram ad ever. And then we're like, no, we don't want to do that. And then there have been some people who have asked like, or suggested like you should record clips. Like people are so funny, they're so interesting. You could put this on social media, and then people could follow you, and then that could turn into something. And we have this like intense conviction that like in person is the best. And I think there's a way that things would shift if we were putting things on the internet, and if people thought that their presentation needed to be good enough to be on the internet, it would change perhaps like how comfortable you feel. But I think like at least with our events, like one of the major things about the events is that we sort of insist that it is like valuable and interesting for you to talk about the things you care about to just these people, and like we in the audience are going to be excited about this thing. There's some people who spend like dozens of hours crafting a presentation that like no one else is ever going to see besides like this small group of people.
Yeah. I know somebody like that.
Yeah.
And like there's something I think about the fleetingness of it, the
ephemerality.
that I think helps people, or like helps me, like reminds me that like things are worth creating because it's like fun to create, and because like people I care about will care about it. And I say all that in response to this question of like, why do people maybe who wouldn't necessarily consider themselves creative feel like there's this outlet? I think in like the increasingly, well, maybe two things. Like I think in professionalized creative industries of which I've been a part of, like there's a pressure to do your absolute best and like compete with the absolute best. And I think there's people who present at PowerPoint Party who like are at that level, but like that isn't the point. Like I don't think people are intimidated to present just because they've seen Dan present, or they shouldn't, because like there's a range of it. But then I think in addition to that, I think there is like a way that people who are very polished on social media come across, that if you knew that all these things are going to get posted to social media, you might not feel the courage because you'd be like, is it worth everyone's attention? But like what we're saying in this room is like, it's worth our attention.
Right.
Like we're a group of people who may not even know who's going to be presenting that night. And we are going to like show up and sit in these seats and watch like people present about anything. And that I think it's encouraging. Like there's a certain bravery in my mind to telling a story at the Moth, like in front of strangers who are there for entertainment, who do not know me. Like that to me is like a different caliber and like a different level of pressure than telling a story at Glint, where like I basically know everybody.
Yeah.
And they are going to be happy to hear whatever I can figure out how to say.
Because they care about you.
Yeah. And that's not to say that the quality like isn't great. Like I think there's this other element to it where it's like, because I know Allison's in the crowd, like I have to really work on my story because I want to like do a good job for the people who I can't escape. I don't have anonymity, but it's like the being known by people both makes me more comfortable and I think increases my quality.
Sam keeps saying to see and be seen. Like that's one of the. I don't think that's one of the most important things in life. What do you say about that for your life? Is that?
Oh, I totally disagree with you. I think if you're like, what is the meaning of life? I would be like, that is it.
Great. I was hoping that I wasn't maybe stretching too much, but yeah, that's it. I think that's exactly what that is exactly why. To simplify it, I keep thinking like, what is it? Like there are so many things. It is the care that you guys take in and the really small things, which I'd like to talk about. Also how much you document. I want to talk about that. But also it's the perfect balance that's struck between people having the opportunity to be seen. And usually when you have the opportunity to be seen, you don't really have a choice but to also see at the same time, right? When I'm presenting, I'm also waiting and watching everyone else's. And I think that's like and it's such a simple thing. And it's like, that is to me really what it is. It's that every event seems to have that. It seems like everyone has the opportunity to be as open or maybe, as not as they'd like to be. And that's how I feel when I'm doing a PowerPoint. I know the ego is getting in the way because I feel like I wish I could explain it to you guys what presenting a PowerPoint does. It sounds so silly too, like what a PowerPoint does for your life.
Something is occurring to me about why.
I'm like, it's weird. It's like I almost wish I could record it so that I could watch it because when I get done doing it and then like one or two people come up to me and they're like, dude, that was amazing. Like I really appreciate that. I know more about you now. And it's like, that's it. It's like a way it's like a portal for me to understand somebody and what they love. And sometimes people will present, it's like, I wish I could think of a specific example, but out of context, I'm like, this is going to be fucking terrible.
Oh yeah.
Like I don't care about this thing, about this object. And then they present and it's like, oh my God, like this person is fascinating. It's not the thing, it's the person.
Yeah.
And that's what it is. And it's so strange to think like, presenting is like so monumental, and when you do it, you're like, oh, it's hard to explain. It's like I feel like I leveled up. Oh, like I feel like I've talked about a season of my life, and now it's concrete, and now I just thought it, but now I've said it. Now I've said it. Now I've lived it, and there's a witness, and that's a lot of the scene. That's a lot of like the scene part, but also at the same time, like I keep saying, and I'll stop here. I'm also seeing other people at the same time.
Okay, this actually has not occurred to me until I was just listening to you talk, but I think that part of what makes something like, I'm going to go back to PowerPoint Party because it's the easiest for people to conceptualize, but anything in which you are presenting to an audience and the audience can be literally just your friends on your couch, because we're in an era of the attention economy, even if we're one-on-one, like out getting drinks or dinner with a friend, like your phones are on the table. When someone gets a text like they're checking their watch or they're looking down at their phone. And it feels like you never really have 100% of someone's attention. And so when you sit and present to an audience, this is a very concrete, obvious moment where you have someone's undivided attention. And we collectively have agreed that like the lights are low. We're not going to be on our phones. Like it's like a theater performance.
Yeah.
There's a bit of etiquette that's unspoken.
Yeah.
In order to deliver this attention to the presenter.
Yeah.
And I think that maybe that is why for you, Elliot, there's this sort of like intangible magic of holding everyone's attention in this way.
Sure. Yeah. Agreed.
We've joked sometimes that the company is just 3 kids in a trench coat with a spotlight.
Yeah.
Because like I think a lot of what this is we're just like, hey, pay attention to this, and this is usually like a person, and
Yeah.
like you can tell a story to friends,
Yeah.
and it's different when you tell a story to friends with a spotlight on you.
Yeah.
Like there's
And a
this-
microphone.
Yeah,
And a microphone.
There's I think I don't know if this is the right like word for it, but like mediated communication. Like there's something about like you are on stage and this is like a little bit artificial, right? Like you've crafted this, like you've put together slides, you're like you've rehearsed the jokes and where you're going to pause so that laughter can happen. Like there's something that's like feels a little silly and contrived, but I think it can lead to a certain level of depth that you wouldn't get otherwise. It's just like you're changing the context slightly and then you're able to access something different through it. And I think I think the company is more than just like these mediated experiences, but it's definitely like a significant part of it. And I think it's because they give you ways to connect with people.
Yeah. And what if, I mean, like, so we did the spotlight and the microphone when it was in our living room too.
Nice.
Ooh.
And I think like there's something just really fun about, turning a spotlight on your friends to almost be like, you matter. This is important.
Yeah.
I think, but I mean, I think it's also just fun. It's just the drama. And I mean, that's, I think in some of our original materials for summary, at least, we're like, we have a spotlight because drama, but that's fun when it's just in your living room as well.
No, I love that. I think that also reminds me like there are no rules. Like just because you're in your living room doesn't mean you can't have theatrics.
Yeah. Yeah.
Would you consider that like a small thing, like minutia, or like things that we take pride in that are small that maybe some other people miss, like the textures, right? Like if there wasn't the spotlight and it was just like dim lights, those small things contribute to the universe that is the company. Can you guys maybe talk about or expand on like the small things that you guys enjoy? Can you give like examples of what you might be talking about? Like for example, one of the coolest fucking things is the clocking in.
Oh yeah.
It's the culture, right? It's like it sets the day, and it puts you in, at least for me, in a different mind frame, and it feels analog. It feels vintage, so it feels like you're sort of stepping into an entirely new world.
Yeah.
And the company wouldn't it would be a little bit less special without it.
Yeah.
But it's such a seemingly small thing that is sort of inconsequential. But at the same time, it's not, because you guys now are you're digitally tracking everyone's time there. So
that sounds more ominous when you put it that way, but yeah.
But also there's going to be a really great art exhibit.
That's
right.
Can I talk about the time clock in the context of the guest book?
Yeah.
Okay, so my parents, for as long as I can remember, and since before I was born, they kept a guest book at the front door of their home, and my parents hosted a lot, and so they, like, anytime anyone came over, they would always sign the guest book on the way out. So Ivan and I did that in our home since we got married, and we've just had a guest book there forever. And so when we had PowerPoint parties in our home, like the days that people came over for PowerPoint parties, that was like full of signatures. And so, and there for me, there was a small sadness around that tiny piece when I thought about us moving these events that we had done in our home to an external space, because I loved this tangible record of the people that we had shared space and time with. Okay, so we knew that when we moved into this other space, we wanted something like that. And we went through, I remember we went through a few different iterations of what that could look like. But I think we landed on the punch clock because we're a company, so it's just like silly and on theme. Also, it's just like a fun thing to do. Like it's such a novel physical experience
Totally.
to punch in and out. And with our guest book data, I had done some interesting like data visualization projects with that which is a topic for another time, but that was like such a meaningful art piece to me. And I had these ideas of doing things like that with the company punch card data. But I realized that even if we never did anything like that, just the punch cards themselves are like such a meaningful physical object that even without anything else on top of that, I really like appreciated that artifact. I think to your point, I think like having this thing that people, a tradition that people share the second they walk in, I think that does something. I don't know what. I'm sure I haven't looked into that, but it feels like that feels right, that you do something on the way in and you do something on the way out. And there's a thing you can look at to also see like, oh, who else has been here? I don't know what it does. But
I wonder if like it's something about like consenting to, like we talk about having a silly tradition here at the company. Like I think that's always how we introduce it, or like we have a tradition here. And like we know that it's funny and unnecessary. Like we get that like you're not clocking in to have fun. Like you don't have to like track that. But I think people doing that, and that like everyone is so down to, like I think we were worried at times that people would hate this, and some people do, but that you're like, oh, we're doing this thing and everyone has done this thing, and like, oh, I have to remember to do this thing on the way out. There's something that is I don't know, it's like you're consenting to a particular way of engaging with rules, and like it's
like you're in on the joke.
It's a collective behavior, maybe. And so like maybe like the thing starts with a collective act, and then maybe you're more willing to do more collective things. I don't know. When I think about like texture or like different things at the company, most of it feels a little bit more like emergent. Like we had the idea for the punch clock, but there are these other things that people have decided to do or started to do that have just like happened. Like one of them is we decided to take recess. So at like 3:00 most work days, those of us that are working from there, which isn't like everybody, but there's a small group of us who do, we will like go to the park and like play at the park, or we'll get ice cream, or we'll get coffee, or we'll go for a walk. But like the park has kind of become like this place that we will go to
because it's recess.
Yeah.
It's funny. We used to go on a walk.
It was called
Michelle and Livvy's Daily Walk for everyone.
Yeah.
But then the moment that we started calling it recess, now we always go to the playground because like, duh, I guess you got it.
And like that's just like a silly thing. Like I don't know like serious business people who go to like a playground.
Yeah.
No. And that emerged, but we know why that emerged. That emerged because, of course, when you're working like around people, the risk is that it's too chit-chatty and people can't be focused. So we realized if we drop this is the playing time on the calendar, it helped us be a lot more focused the rest of the afternoon.
Some of the first notes I have for preparing for the episode, I wrote, Ellie, go back to some journal entries and read them to Ivan and Livy. Haven't done that yet. Probably won't do that. Maybe I will. I think we passed it. But talk about the letter that Livy wrote you. At the end of the birthday letter, it says, Elliot, remember that you will die.
Yeah.
We'll talk about that. Yeah. I wrote, talk about how they make people feel important, which we've spoken about. And then I said, talk about how they go to the playground during recess to feel like kids after a long morning and hard at work as adults who have to play the game of life. And I was thinking, okay, there's another facet of the company. And the way I see the company is like it is its own universe, right? It's like its own world, and part of being healthy and part of being happy and part of living a good life is to feel like a child sometimes.
Oh, yeah.
We were at the park a while ago, and I think I saw there was like an adult climbing on a tree, and I was like, oh no, like what's going on?
No.
Is something wrong with him, or what? What's happening? That was my first instinct, and I was like,
your instinct was he's unwell.
Yeah, we don't allow, like children can do that, but like adults don't normally do that. Maybe sure they do, but it's a different headspace. And there's another thing that you guys have added maybe just recently, and I'm sure maybe you see it because you're very, you're very observant. But I mean, you've already said it, but you're letting people have, like, you're having fun. You're letting people feel like children.
Play.
Every single day. And I think there's something really, I know it's very simple, but there's something very special about that. We don't a lot of us don't get to do that. We don't give ourselves the opportunity to like go literally to a playground and play some basketball and like get on monkey bars and doing the things you guys are doing, you know?
Yeah.
It's pretty special. It's cool.
I think that the thing that we have been able to create has been really lovely.
Yeah.
And I feel in some ways like we're just never going to move. We're going to live here forever because this thing like needs to continue forever for my sake, but also because there are people who I know appreciate it. And the thought of just closing it down because like we move on to some other life phase, like I hate that. Like I recognize that like we might have kids someday. And if we have kids, that might like take all our time and we'll just become really focused in a different kind of community. And that like is the thing that makes me most reluctant about having kids.
Yeah.
Sure.
And so like, yeah, I don't want to leave this thing behind, but I also hope that it's possible that the thing that we are participating in, helping tend to, that can transcend us. And there could be a world where we leave and that thing could go on. And I was like a very lonely child that didn't have a lot of friends. And I spent a lot of time like wishing I was included in something. Livvy maybe had her own like way of being isolated, but I think of Livvy as just like always being content everywhere. And like she made the world that she needed around her. And like I felt very grateful at times in my childhood and in high school and college when other people included me in something. And so sometimes when I think about the thing that I'm a part of, that like what the company is, like I think about what like younger version of me would have liked to have existed and been like invited into. And I feel this like obligation is strong, but like a desire that like other people who feel lonely or disconnected can have this thing that I also wanted to have. And I feel like responsibility, like there's something that feels like an oughtness to it. Like I want this thing to continue. I want the thing we have done to be like meaningful and to matter. And even if like the only thing that exists after we die, or like after the company closes down, which I hope it never does, but like even if the only thing that persists is that it's a memory, and someone else in the future can be like, oh, remember that time that like just a bunch of our friends made up a thing and it was real? Like we could do that again. Like when I think about scale or like growth, or like I think there's people who would see what we're doing and be like, we can scale this, we can start. And I'm like, no, you can copy this. Like in the same way that we copied PowerPoint Party and that we copied the Moth, like you can know that you can build something like this as well. Like if anything, I want to be like, here's our Notion database, here's our templates. This is like the run sheet for like how to run a PowerPoint Party. Like I want to give all of this stuff away and let people know like you can do this too. And like that to me would feel a little bit better than just we shut it down one day and like burn all the documents and like peace out.
Oh, I liked that distinction. I don't know if you've made it before. We don't want to scale or monetize or franchise. And it would be so awesome if more places like this exist.
Right.
I like that language of, no, we don't want to scale, but you can copy. Because I think that one of the beautiful things about the company and why it feels so great is because like we started with kind of some very loose ideas, but then like the culture and what it is emerged out of the people that came to it. And so like, I don't think you can scale that because the point is that like every place should do that and it should be very emergent from like whatever it is that those people need. Sure, we can we can post online like, you know, the template of this is how we run the PowerPoint party and these are all the, you know, you got to set up the screen, you got to set up the spotlight, you got to set up the, I don't know.
Okay, so if anyone's listening and you want a checklist of how to run a PowerPoint party, Ivan and Livvy will send it to you. Yeah. Slide into the DMs. You can visit their website in the description below.
We ask that you go through our manager, Sam.
Brand manager, PR. Yeah. Okay, should we talk really quickly about like documentation, reflection? Elliot and I started talking and I was like, we should save this for the episode because we have disagreements about the distinction between documentation and reflection.
Yes.
But I think as a result of the types of events that you host, you also do a lot of documentation, whether it's this sort of documentation of process, which we just talked about.
Oh, yeah.
Or it's like the documentation of the moment. You take the photos, you send a newsletter, or it's the documentation of presenting at this thing. You create the PowerPoint, you share the story. All of these things require documentation of some sort. Do you think that that makes an impact of people's experience at the company, your experience of your life? Like, how important of a factor is that in the culture and sort of unique world that is the company?
Yeah, I think so much of the company is recording history. I don't know if you ever thought about it that way, but
Little. It is the history of a small group of people in Denver, you know?
Yeah.
So Ivan is the editor of Paperwork, the company's weekly newsletter. And it has 3 sections. Well, it has an introduction that you write every week. And then it has, you know, like these are the events coming up. And then it has a section called Nostalgia, where we write about the week that just happened as if it was the long ago past that we're remembering. And then there's photos with captions. And
You forgot bureaucratic minutia.
oh my goodness. Okay.
Photos and intro aren't listed as sections. They just
Oh, I see. Yes, bureaucratic
it
minutia
right,
is where we
Livvy.
put little, little bullet points about things that happen around the space. And Ivan writes that every week, and I love it so much. So many other people have told us that they love it so much. You can talk about maybe why you love it. I one of the reasons I love it, I think, is asserting that this is worth documenting. And I think it has to do with like the paying attention, like turning our attention to like this week. What a week. Remember, it was so full of all of this. It was so full of these big moments, but also the small moments. Like my favorite times are when like some small moment shows up either in a caption or in that little nostalgia section. Because it goes along with this remembering that you're alive and remembering to pay attention to it.
Can I read you guys this nostalgia of the first time that we met? Because we made it into this section of Paperwork.
Yeah.
Okay, gathering of the gatherers that we host at the company in which he gathers gatherers, an idea he mentioned to us months before when we met at the company and had great conversation that helped us clarify our goals. On this night, he shows up early to help set up and is surprised to see the Cuppa sign. He knows Beth. He's excited to find out that we connected and this is going to be her spot. People trickle in, including Tim, who runs longer tables, and a young married couple named Sam and Elliot. They also know Beth, met her at an event that they hosted. They said that she is the reason they got connected to Ryan. They also tell us that they first learned about her at Creative Mornings, where they saw her Cupper pitch. That they had tried to meet her, but she had left early. Later, I realized I've seen them before. And so did Justin.
So yeah,
That's crazy,
if
guys.
you hadn't documented, some of our history is in your work, in your art.
This is the section where you're sort of reminiscing on this previous week as if it were a long time ago. Later that night, we hosted Ryan's Gathering the Gatherers event, and Livvy miswrote and then corrected her hand-drawn sign, and we put out the lamp and met so many great people. How we all went around and shared and asked for advice and broke into groups and got back together and learned about saying Shazam. How we met Elliot and Sam. How even later that night, the 3 of us talked at length about the company.
Oh.
It's lovely. Ivan, documentation, recording history, the importance of it.
Yeah. So I'm trying to remember how this.
Melody's newsletter.
Oh yeah. Okay. Direct path to nostalgia for sure. But I'm trying to like remember how it, because it's really gotten out of hand. Like our first newsletter, I think we had like 9 photos. They were shot with my iPhone, and it was like just the events and like a 2-sentence intro. There's weeks where like the intro is just unnecessarily long. Like a few weeks back, I wrote it as if it was like the script to like a This American Life episode. Like it gets really, I get really carried away.
He spends 8 hours.
It's probably like an 8-hour a week
writing
thing.
paper.
Wow.
Did you say 8? Did you say that?
Wow, yeah. That's a long time.
Yeah, so I don't entirely know how it ended up becoming what it became. Besides, like maybe people kept saying nice things about certain sections. I'm like, okay, I'll spend more time on that section. And like I really enjoy the writing. Like I as many things at the company go, it's a very self-serving thing. Like
Okay.
to me, I don't take it lightly that like people have a lot they can spend their time on and that they would choose to read the newsletter in its entirety. I'm like, like I will do a good job at it, but also I'm like, I don't expect you to read the whole thing.
Right.
I think there's like a lot that's very skippable. If you just want to see the events, you can just skip to the events. If you just want to see the photos, and I do know people who like will only look at the photos, like you can just do that. I don't think people will read all of it, but if they do, like I'm writing things that hopefully capture it. With nostalgia specifically, our dear friend Melody Roshman, I think I've mentioned her a few times. She writes a Substack called Syllabus that is her musings on a particular topic. She used to be a professor, and is just one of the most like literate people I know, just in terms of like the number of references she can cite. Incredible writer. And there's a newsletter she wrote about going to see the eclipse. And she writes like a brief section about how it immediately felt nostalgic. And then she like starts saying like, remember how this and remember how that. And she's doing this about things that she just wrote about earlier in that same newsletter. So there's like these, like it's a really direct callback to like earlier when she explained things that happened. And I was just like weeping. I was like, oh my gosh, this format is like intense. And I love crying. So I was like, I wonder if like this is repeatable. And like it doesn't always, because I write it every week in the same tone and style, it doesn't always like hit. But there's some times where like I'm writing this and I'm like, like if you think about yourself far in the future, looking back on this time, what would it feel like if you can like get yourself into that state? It's really amazing and special that we get to live this life and that we get to live it with each other. And that there's like, I think also the thing implied in that is that some far away time in the future, you will find yourself with someone from this time who remembers it. And like that is just like such a hopeful idea that you can turn to someone and be like, do you remember that time that we sat in a circle and ate pizzas together and said Shazam after we answered the question? Like, you know, like that's just, it's just a lot.
Two things coming to mind for me. I think so many times in life, people will look back at an earlier time and say something like, man, if I had only known that those were the good days. And I don't know what they would do differently, but there's this like, I wish I knew then that that was the best time. I know right now that I'm in the best time. Maybe it's not the best. Maybe there's even better coming. But like, I also think that what we have at the company right now is so special. And like every period of my life I have thought was like, wow, this is great. But like this, I mean, I think paperwork is this recognition and insistence on realizing and remembering and not forgetting to notice right now that we are in a time right now that if it ends, we will look back on this time happily later. But we don't have to wait till the future to recognize it. We can recognize it now.
I've been thinking about that a little bit, like forcing myself to, I don't know, it always feels like life, like there's like some destination to get to arrive at. And I'm like, that does not exist. Like it is just now, right?
Now that exists.
And so, yeah, no, I just think about that. Like I am living, if this isn't my best life, I don't know what it is. Like I can't acknowledge it anymore. It's like, I think there's like this feeling that when you're living your best life, you'll feel it and it'll just be like this complete moment where you reach nirvana. That's how I feel. But I'm like, no, this right now, how you're feeling about acknowledging that it's your best life is it.
Yeah.
Like that is it. You've acknowledged it and now you can move on with the next present moment. And that's all that it can be. And so it's just like learning to be content, knowing that this is as good as it's going to get and it's pretty good. So like, what are you searching for something else? Like, and what is that and why, you know?
I mean, I also think that the cadence with which you guys do this is really important. Like you're doing this on a weekly basis. And you said it really earlier on in our conversation, Livvy, about we just had this week. Like look at all the things that have happened in a week.
Yeah.
All these things that have occurred in 1 week. Like that's incredible. It's so full and it's so vibrant. And there's so much to have happened in just 7 days.
Yeah.
And so I think that is a way, you talk a lot about time, Elliot, and sort of like the passage and sort of disappearance of time. And we can't quite grasp it, like trying to hold handfuls of sand. That when we reflect on a week at a time, you're like, oh, a week is so short, but also so full.
So full.
And so when we do that, actually life feels fuller and longer.
Yeah.
And gives us this opportunity to recognize the moment that we're in and not wait for a new phase or a new season or these sort of like big changes, like the quarter or the season or the century, we're doing it with regularity.
Yeah.
There are events at the company that involve you paying attention to a thing. And for this like brief period of time, you are thinking Sam's presentation on the many lives she could have lived or has lived, like that is the important thing right now. Elliot talking about how many hours there are in a year, was it?
In the summer?
In a summer?
No.
Heck
You-
if I
you've
know.
done a-
Heck if I know, dude.
Many of the time
You've done a lot of math.
Yeah.
Many of the time-based things that Elliot has talked about, like that is important to pay attention to. And I think I haven't shot on film very much, but with the film camera, you are forced to decide whether you're going to capture this moment. And there are moments where I'm looking through the viewfinder and I'm like, this is beautiful, and it isn't beautiful enough. Like this isn't $2 beautiful. It's like $1.75 beautiful, but like I need to save this for the more beautiful thing. And I think writing paperwork and taking photos and choosing what goes in there is this, like it causes me to pay so much attention. I think similar to the journaling or the death chart or any of the things that we do that involve paying attention. And so like I don't know what it'd be like to just be a reader of paperwork. Like I've not had that experience, but once or twice. To me, it does a lot of this life satisfaction increasing thing because I'm like, was this moment great? Yes, this was a great moment. And was this moment great? Yes. Was this, we have too many photos. We have to cut that one, but that is a great moment. And like, I'm sad. Maybe I'll share it with like a few friends, but like it won't make it into the newsletter. And this like, to me, it feels kind of like really the same as so much else that happens at the company because a lot of it is paying attention and like an insistence that life lived with other people is sort of the best thing you can do. And so to pay attention to that and celebrate, like we had this like funny moment picking peaches in the sidewalk outside our building with our landlords. Like that's a way that we lived life for a few minutes one afternoon. It's kind of like maybe elevates or champions or it frames this as like this was a thing that we're happy we did, and that feels really special to me.